everyone, this is Roland from Defense of the Patients. I'd like to tell you a little bit about a GoFundMe campaign we've got going on right now. Travis Captain Silverfox Stanley, a longtime .p community member, has a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to attend an elite training academy to learn the next generation of web programming languages, Ruby on Rails. The cost to do this is beyond Silverfox's capability, but it would be life-changing for him and could even help .p along the way. Silverfox is helping Defense of the Patients to rework our website. Now, this campaign is a great way to change someone's life and help .p grow. To find out more about this campaign and donate, please visit www.gofundme.com/TravisOnRails. That's gofundme.com/TravisOnRails. Thank you for all you guys do for Defense of the Patients.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the latest edition of the DotPro Wednesday show. I am, as usual, your host, Korean Barbecue, with my co-host, Woodtrue, and we have with us a very special guest this Wednesday, aren't they? They're definitely all special, but we have our first player guest, and it is Misery, now the captain of Digital Chaos. Welcome, Rasmus.
Thank you.
Well, you're in. You mentioned on Twitter that you're in Kiev right now, and so what's going on over there, and why are you out there in Kiev?
My girlfriend is from Ukraine, so it's pretty much the easiest place we can meet. She needs visa to go most places, and I don't need visa to go here. And yeah, it's a pretty nice place, and we have been here before, so it's pretty chill to be back. So yeah.
Is it easy for you, generally speaking, to travel to events with your passport? You have a Danish passport, I assume. Is that correct?
Yeah, I really don't have problems. I think I need visa for China and maybe some Russia as well. But apart from that, I'm good. And then for USA, I just have ESTA, which is like an online 10-minute thing you have to fill out. It's pretty easy.
Awesome. Were you playing Dota just now, or are you still practicing while you're over there, or is this kind of like personal, fun time kind of?
We finished. We're still practicing. We started back up today, yeah. I just finished like 1 hour ago or something like that. So
awesome. How's that going? Did people at the PC place or where you played at recognize you or any of that stuff?
Yeah, I mean they know me there. So I got a computer set up for me and stuff, and I'm playing from there. The computers they have there are maybe not the best, a bit unstable. So I asked for like a new computer set up for me, and they did it for me, so that's very nice.
Awesome, man. That's kind of the perks of being a known professional. And you've been a veteran player, you've been an established player for a very long time, for a number of years. I remember watching you way back in Dota 1 with Met and then MYM at some point. From your perspective, since then, obviously the game has changed a lot. We've gone from Dota 1 to Dota 2. We have these huge tournaments and prize pools now, and very different accommodations now for professional players and teams. What are some of the biggest changes you've noticed that maybe even the average fan or spectator or someone who's followed the game might not know from the outside?
Oh, I think there's probably a lot of things. I think the whole team environment has gotten a lot different throughout the years, and a lot of things people are focusing on within the team are not really being like looked upon as much from the community. Another thing comes to mind is how back in the day, players and teams really wanted to play for an organization, and the organizations was the ones like very much in charge. Whereas nowadays, it's probably the opposite. Like a lot of organizations want the players, and the players have choices to pretty much choose which organization they want to go with or get the best possible deal. Whereas back in the day, maybe the deals were very bad, and a lot of players maybe got abused in the past. I don't know, for the game, it's just Dota just keeps evolving, and like there's gonna be a new patch soon, and a lot of things are gonna change, and like things just keep changing over the years. It just keeps going.
I think it's been kind of a common narrative that the players have a lot more flexibility, and like some say that the players have a lot more power in this current landscape, professional scene. Do you think that's like a valid narrative based on what you said in terms of how they can pick and choose organizations?
I think if they know that they have the power, like I think some players still don't know how much power they actually have. Like they will still sign some deal with some team that is not really as good as they could get, or they might give away some money from their prize pool, or and still getting very low salary or something like that, but because they don't know better. But I think if you're aware of your value in that sense, I think most players can get a lot better deals than in the past.
It's interesting that it's been brought up in this interview, because I was listening to one of your previous interviews with Epi, and you guys were kind of discussing some matches you guys were watching on stream, and I think it was like Team 5 Youngs and Monkey, like playing like way back in like September. And it's interesting because both those teams actually were in a position to kind of leverage their performance as a uncommitted team of professionals to playing for Team Liquid eventually, and even establishing an organization in Team OG.
Yeah, I mean, generally the organizations, if they want a really good team, they just have to accept that they're not gonna get it for free. They're not gonna get it. They actually have to pay the players nowadays. Whereas back in the day, they could, because the players were very like they didn't really know much, like, and the organizations would kind of take advantage of that and maybe get some sneaky deal and maybe get some money back from some tournaments and something like that. I don't know. There's a lot to it, but that's something that maybe the community and the people don't really know that much about, for one thing.
So that's certainly a step from where we sit. That sounds like a step in the right direction for sure, and a good step for empowering players. And what do you think is maybe the biggest factor behind that? Is it just because you have so much more, not just knowledge, but money and opportunities, and it's so much more competitive now, so that teams have to be more wary? Or, are there people particularly that you think drove that to happen? Or like, what do you think caused that to happen?
I mean, I think it's just the growth of esports in general, and obviously us Dota players have it quite nice, as the prize pools are so huge that the exposure and stuff is also huge. And but generally, it's just the fact that there's so much more people watching and playing the games, and it just keeps exploding, like keeps exponentially growing, and the organizations know that too. So like everybody knows that. I don't think there's any denying from anybody that esports is here to stay in that sense.
Personally, when did you realize that you were here to stay in esports? Because you started playing at a very high level, basically when you were at high school age, right? And was there like a moment when it really hit you that you realized that you could, make like a pretty good living and make your way playing this game that you loved? Did you at some point seriously consider taking another direction, or what was like the breakthrough for you? Or maybe there wasn't a breakthrough and you just kind of took it a day at a time. Like, how did that process go?
I think for a very long time I just kept playing because I enjoyed it, and because that was just what I was really good at, and what I like, kind of my passion in that sense. And like I think it's even to some extent still like that. But I guess throughout the last few years, like how much money that has been involved and like stuff like that, it's a little bit of a different view you have on it now, because now you actually get so much money in from winning a major or something, that you have to worry about taxes and you have to worry about what to do with all this money. And there are just different aspects now that you wouldn't be thinking about earlier. So it is a different view you have on everything now, for sure.
So would you say that like what the responsibilities are for a professional today have like changed quite drastically?
Well, I think yes, in a sense that you have to play more and you have to try harder, and you have to just be better all the time. But in the sense that it's the player's own choice or whatever, what they want to do, right, with their money and stuff. I just happened to start looking into taxes and stuff because suddenly I got a lot of money, and I live in Denmark. So Denmark has fucking high taxes, so it's like, yeah, I kind of had to look into it. Yeah.
I see. But the people are provided for probably to a better extent. So, just taking that question a bit further, you said that players have had to try harder. Have your habits changed significantly since you started playing, professionally, and as the game has changed over the years? Like, have you come to a point where, for the most part, the gamer schedule is kind of, you play all night or play as much as you want or whatever. Have you had to add, say, more structure or discipline or be more selective about who and how you played than back in the day? Because I remember, maybe back in the Dota 1 days, maybe public games weren't as helpful to players as they are these days, say with like the ladder system. Maybe you had to play IHCS or something else. So have you had to change how you've played significantly since then?
I think the last 2-3 years, most Dota players started playing, obviously, like scrims with their teams, but also playing basically their own heroes, the heroes that they're going to play in tournaments and scrims outside the practice with the team. So that's something that, like, not only me, but like most pro players now do. Like I went, like Envy is playing Spectre and Slark every game, for example, in his pubs, and that's just to keep improving his knowledge of the hero. And like so am I, and so is like everyone. Like before the major, I think I played like 20 Beastmaster games in a row, stuff like that. And that you did not do back in the day in Dota 1 and early days of Dota 2. You just played, you didn't think about it that far. So that has changed a lot, for sure.
So do you put a lot of thought into selecting those heroes that you will focus on in your individual public games? Because from your standpoint, like you've clearly added a lot of different heroes to your kind of arsenal because you've been put in a position to kind of adapt to different roles for different teams. Like how much thought do you put into choosing those heroes? Like how much input do you get from the team? And I'm just curious about that process for you.
I mean, you usually also as a pro player follow other tournaments and other teams playing, and you kind of see teams are playing Beastmaster, and your team don't play Beastmaster. So you then you have a chat with the team at one point about this hero and stuff, and then you realize that both the team, but you also yourself have to look into this hero a lot to be able to play it properly, and that goes for everything kind of. But it's not like you could be thinking about new potential heroes to like innovate the pro scene or something and bring something completely new. But I don't think generally that's how you do it. At least maybe obviously when a new patch comes, you have to do something like that. But like for the major, for example, you just gotta have the most solid stuff you can get. And then in that case, Beastmaster was one of them.
How much? So talking about the training and practice and stuff, how valuable do you feel the pub games are to professional teams these days? Because we've heard a lot of people say different things about this. I think, maybe some teams or players would tend towards scrims and organized games because they're getting practice for the real thing, and maybe entire scenes are kind of leaning towards this model. But other players are, we've seen a lot of so-called pub stars enter the professional arena and have a lot of success there, or maybe they learn a lot more from public games. I think, Envy has said this, and certainly Weehaw, for example, is your teammate now, is a player who also came up from the public scene. So to what extent does a public Dota, does that impact you as a professional or as a team?
I mean, for the new players coming to pro teams, I think it's just the only way they can really show themselves is through like the MMR ranking. And get knowledge, knowledgeable through that. Another way is through some lower level team, but that's so hard to get seen because you're not really going to qualify for stuff. It's very hard. So that's just kind of their way of getting into the scene and trying hard. But for like established teams, I think you can't really play 10 scrims a day. You can't play 10 or like 5-6 best of threes in one day. it's just too rough for the team. You can't keep up the concentration. It's not really going to be beneficial for the team as a whole in many ways. So it's good to kind of play these scrims, and then maybe there's some hero that you feel like you don't play as good as you could or something like that, or you want to try something new from that scrim or something, and then you can test that out in a pub. At least that's how I looked at it. There's just some heroes that you're not entirely comfortable with. I feel like that's pretty much the case. I don't think pubs are like. I think scrims are still more important, but pubs are it's just easier to test something out and try out something in scrims in public games than it is in scrims. In scrims, you kind of want like better quality, and you might not really understand it to try it out in a scrim, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so it's like you want like the say mechanical background or whatever testing for the hero, but then in the scrim itself, you want to be on your best foot to see if it really works in like a competitive setting. Is that accurate?
Yeah, well, it's also, if you don't really understand why you're doing this on a specific hero, then it's hard to draft it too, and it's hard to have a general idea of what you want to do with it. But if you've played it in pubs a few times or you've talked about it, then it's maybe easier to try and execute in practice games.
Awesome, that's a lot of good insight there. And personally, you've played for professional teams based just about everywhere. I think at least 3 continents, right? The U.S., Europe, and China, and you've also played with LGD in China. And what were your thoughts, I guess, on each region? Like, what sets each region apart, and how do you think that's been changing or shifting recently?
I think back when I was in China, or around that time, probably you could look at the Chinese as the ones trying harder and practicing more, and maybe spending more time together in the team houses and stuff like that. Whereas the Europeans would still be back online and maybe have a boot camp now and then, but nothing major, and maybe not play so many pubs and stuff. And but now I think it's switched around. I think the Chinese don't play much pubs, and they maybe haven't tried as hard the last year, whereas the Europeans all have tried hard. All new teams want to rise and become better, and everyone wants to win pretty much in Europe. And it was kind of not like that back in the day. The same goes for America. They're also they're in the European, like the same way pretty much.
We've discussed the idea of team houses for even Western teams increasingly on our show. When we had one of the general manager from Complexity talking about his own team's team house in the States, and it was actually recently announced through the team statement when the roster change occurred that Digital Chaos would actually also be implementing a team house situation for you guys as well. So what are your thoughts going into this? I think you've spoken in the past in previous interviews that you've been a little bit doubtful, a little bit dubious on the idea of it, and if it would work for kind of the Western scene. So
I think how it was back in LTD was that we moved 5 foreigners to China, and then we really had no guidance or anything like that. We had no friends or anyone we knew, and the language and food and all that stuff was a big barrier. So staying there for what was like 8 months in total was really hard, and that kind of broke our team midway. And I don't think there was any way coming back in that sense. So, but now like every condition is better, and people are more serious and maybe more grown up as well. And I don't think like the DC house is, obviously it is still a team house, but I think the living there is not going to be like you commit for like 8 months, and you actually just stay there for 8 months. You can still, the main purpose is to go and win the qualifiers for the major and win the qualifiers for TI, and go to tournaments and stuff like that. So it's not really the same situation as it was back in the day with China and LTD. But I think it's good. But I like the team house thing. I think it might be a very good thing now. I know Secret has been looking into getting a team house as well, and since it's working out for Complexity, it has to be kind of an interesting idea. So yeah, I think it's good, but I also think it depends a lot on the players you have on each team. If like it can happen that people get tired of each other, and that can kind of be a big problem within a team.
That's really interesting, because I had wondered if it was kind of a philosophical or even like a cultural thing, because like as you mentioned, like in China, it's customary for teams to live together and play together, practice together almost all the time. And some of the team houses are controlled, like kind of on lockdown. Like you can't, there are a lot of restrictions and stuff. And I thought it was, I wonder if it was like a more of a cultural or preference thing, where Western players thought, oh, we just beat each other's throats if we were to do that for a long time, and we'd be better off not living together. And obviously, when you live with someone versus if you're just being a friend with them or something, it really changes things. So I was wondering if that was more, as you mentioned, it was like a philosophical thing, or if it was just a matter of circumstances or resources, and maybe teams didn't feel the need or didn't want to invest in the team house, but they think that it's a better way to do things now.
I think boot camps and like being together as a team has become more important, or maybe not more important. It's always been important, but maybe it's like an edge that all teams want to try and take, enable to win. So that's why the whole team house thing is coming back. Not that it was completely gone, but just coming back like full time in a sense. And I think when we were in China, there was different issues as well. It was not only the fact that it was cultural things; it was also the fact that we almost had no tournaments to play in, and we never left China. We never went to Manila to play a major or something like that you would do now, or go to Frankfurt ESL, or we actually had no LAN tournaments. We had one thing in Beijing and one thing in Shanghai or something like that, and then some online stuff, and then we lost one qualifier, but that was it. And when we lived in China too, it was kind of a year in China where nothing really happened in Dota 2, like not much, and that also showed at TI3 when Alliance won. Whereas on the other hand, Europe exploded that year, and there was like all these Summit and Star Ladder, and I don't remember the names of the tournaments, but there were like 4 tournaments running a month online, both qualifiers and just online tournaments. So we were sitting in China looking at these games every day, and we had nothing to play. So like there was many different things that made it hard.
That's got to be rough, being cooped up like that. Would you still consider, say, for instance, going to China nowadays? Is the environment different? And I mean, speaking of China, like they really struggled at the major. Like, what are your thoughts on that and how they performed, in terms of that tournament and going forward?
I don't think I would live in China again. I think I would like to go there for the tournaments and stuff, but that's kind of enough for me. I wouldn't want to live there again permanently like I did. And for the major, I think it might have something to do with the whole streaming thing they got going on, that a lot of players are streaming instead of practicing and earning money that way. But I think it also has something to do with just like lack of motivation, maybe within the teams now. Every single team in China shuffled around, and that's maybe what they need to gain back their motivation. And then there was Chinese New Year as well right before it, like a 3-week break or something like that. So like a lot of factors can play in for the Chinese.
Okay. Well, in the wake of this reshuffle, I mean, what do you think some of the strongest Chinese teams are going to be? Are there any teams that are really surprising to you that certain people came together, or that you think are going to be really strong in the Chinese scene?
I don't know. I didn't really follow. I'm not really 100% sure who plays on what teams entirely. But I think obviously Xiao 8's team is going to be strong. That's LTD, I guess, right? And then I think Newbie won this qualifier, so they are also looking pretty good. I think eHome will still be good. Like, I don't know how good, but they're also going to be up there. I think the standard 4 or 5 top teams that has always been around are still going to be teams that everybody can lose to here and there. I think they're going to be for sure stronger, but I mean, I have no idea how much.
All right. Well, I think it's time that we hit you with the big question, the one that the topic that everyone wants to know about, everyone wants to ask about, and it kind of relates to what you just said as well, because one reason that was given for potentially for the Chinese having some trouble is that around Chinese New Year time, they usually have the end of their contracts, and they usually have a reshuffle afterwards. So some people said the Chinese were playing knowing that there was going to be a reshuffle and changes going on, and it might have affected them going into that tournament. So now, speaking of reshuffle and changes, obviously the big one is that you went from Secret to DC ultimately with Weeha. And from the outside perspective, this was very sudden because we saw something on your Twitter. You tweeted about it no longer being a member of Secret, and we basically most of the public got that information through the Twitter sphere or through Reddit and stuff. So I've got to ask you about the roster change. To what extent did you know or have some idea that this was going to happen? Like, were you also entirely caught by surprise, or was there some understanding or some conflict or some way of you knowing that this might happen?
I mean, you could say that it was always like a fear of getting kicked from Team Secret because you had a great team here, and you had won tournaments, and you had a good time together, and you had it was just a fucking great team, right? And I know for a fact that Pi was also really afraid of getting kicked, and so was I. And looking back at it, it's kind of fucked up that you're afraid of getting kicked from a team that you actually won so many tournaments with. Like, okay, not so many, but we won 3 tournaments or 2
in a row,
in a row or whatever, and got second in major, won a major, out of 2. So it's pretty damn good results. But you're still kind of not knowing what's going on, and you're afraid of getting kicked in that sense. But that being said, I did not expect getting kicked 4 days before the shuffle after winning the major. I thought that was a completely retarded decision. But yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, there was maybe 2 periods where, or one extended period that maybe where your fears kind of heightened, because for the spectator, Secret sort of started to underperform and dip after the Frankfurt major. Around December and January, you guys had quite a poor record, I think, in overall series, losing series. Was that maybe when your fears were kind of heightened? And in what degree did Shanghai major kind of change your perspective and your expectations? Because you guys did as well as you could have done at the Shanghai major, and I would expect that the mindset for you and those fears may have been kind of calmed down, and those things would have changed.
I don't know. I don't even know if it's based off us losing the fear of getting kicked. I think it's just a general thing, because I remember feeling this way even after the major, because then there's another shuffle coming up. What's going to happen now and stuff. So it's not really based off our slump. I didn't feel like I feel like we did have a slump also in the team, but the atmosphere was never bad. It was never at a point where someone is getting kicked tomorrow or something like that. It's never completely awful. So I don't know. It's just kind of weird.
Well, you did mention that. I mean, so this was part of the surprise, I imagine, because obviously you guys won Shanghai. You'd done really well at a couple of premier tournaments. I think you won the MLG World Championship. You obviously came in second in Frankfurt, and you guys were performing, fairly consistently, doing pretty well for quite a stretch with your team up to that point. So, that being the case, what do you think were the reasons behind the changes? Was there a difference in philosophy on how you viewed the game? Was it a personal issue thing? Why do you think, you don't have to go into too much detail, but what were the reasons behind it?
I mean, I don't want to offend anyone and get in some fucking Twitter, Reddit kind of drama right here.
Of course.
I think it's just based off wanting to play with Arteezy again. Both Poppy and Envy, I guess. Then Universe kind of has to be in the mix too, because they're friends and stuff. And then, then a decision has to be made. And then that's pretty much it. I think I did not feel like I did not have any issues with anyone in the team. And I don't think anyone can really say that they had issues with me either. So for my sake, the team was in a really good state even after we lost in whatever Croatia tournament. So from my point of view, there was really no really valid reason for the kick except for just maybe thinking that they I don't know, that we couldn't win TI or the next major with that roster. Well, I mean, I don't know. I just think it's a retarded thing to do by them, but it's their choice. Let's see how they do in the tournaments.
Fair enough.
That's go ahead, True.
While trying to stay as politically correct about this as possible, I guess. Weehaw kind of went through this alongside you. Just talking trying to be speculative, but also trying to be polite about this, I guess. Did you see this kind of coming for Weehaw as well? Do you think that he was maybe on the on the hot seat, so to speak, as well?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't surprising to me in that sense that it was me and him, because it's our tour coming in, and that RTZ has to play either mid or carry, and since Envy is Puppy's right hand, then
okay,
it's pretty obvious in that sense.
So for you personally, you didn't think that you had any personal issues with either your play or any kind of individual conflict. Do you think that was the same case for Weehaw? Were there maybe internal issues regarding his performance? Because he is, for your team, he was the least experienced and he was the newcomer, right?
I mean, I think the only issue we might have had was around Weehaw and Poppy maybe having arguments. And obviously, rest of us having to side with Poppy, because Weehaw has a habit of being very stubborn and very having some stupid arguments and talking a lot of shit without thinking of too much. But not meant in any bad way from him, obviously.
Yeah.
It's just a bad habit of his, and I think that is probably the reason to why you would want to replace him.
Would you attribute those kinds of things just typical of a younger professional player? Because it seems like it's, we've probably all been there at one point, just in terms of how brash we could be.
I mean, maybe yes. It might have something to do with his personality. It might be just bad habits straight up. I don't know. It's hard to say, right? But yeah, I mean, we won the major with the guy, and he destroyed a lot of games. So it can't be that bad. But I mean, apparently it was. So yeah.
So how soon? Sorry, Jack. So how soon did you and Weehaw decide to pair up then? Because afterwards you guys were both kicked. Was there a quick communication between you guys that you wanted to commit to the same team, or what was that situation like for the aftermath?
I mean, we had 6 days or something, or even less. I don't remember exactly, but I had a few days where I just thought about taking a break and just waiting till TI6 and find out if I could do something else or be a caster or some of that stuff.
So emergency control got turned on, huh?
some shit like that. Help out in Dota in another way. But after a few days, I thought, after some people convinced me and my parents talked to me, and I thought about it for a while, I thought I should just give it a try, right? And try to get the best out of the situation and make a team and qualify and get my revenge or something similar to that, or just try to win, because after all we did win. Me and we did win a major as well, so we can't be can't be that bad. So we should try and get a team together.
Yeah, first and second at those two majors is obviously the best two major performance from any team. So certainly, when you guys hit your stride, you were doing really well. So, just to go back a step, so even in Croatia at Dota Pit, you had no idea that this was in the works, or was it, you just basically didn't know, and then, right? It's you didn't have basically any advance warning of this.
No, I did not. Nope.
Okay.
Yeah, we had no conversation whatsoever about this.
Do you think that, since there's been a lot of talk because of that, and because of kind of the domino effect that causes, because you have very premier players going from switching teams, and that opens up opportunities from other players and teams as well. Do you think that in this major system, with the way the roster shuffles and roster locks are currently done, do you think that needs to change, or are you okay with that? Do you think that's generally been a good thing for the players?
I think it's fine. I think I think the roster locks are totally fine. Completely. I think if there were no roster locks, then I would get kicked another time, and it would be the same situation, right? Yeah, I could join some other team maybe and play some qualifier for TI or something like that. But like it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, this is maybe even more secure for teams, as I think there are way less roster changes in general for teams, because changing roster is like it's not really something that you want to do every day. Like, then what's the point, right? It's much better to try and work out things, and if you have any issues. So I think it's fine. I think it doesn't really change anything. Like, maybe you would get kicked 2 months later, and then the major is over, and then now there's just 2 months till TI or something like that, and then it's kind of even worse to some extent, right? Now you have to make a team and completely new team 2 months before a TI, and it seems much harder than make a team now, like 5 months before TI or something like that, right? So. Mm-hmm. So I think it's fine. I think it's still fair.
Were there any other situations or teams that you considered after the secret news? Like if you can, again, any very personal or private details, you can, you don't have to share with us. But what was the process like for you reaching? Did people reach out to you immediately and say, hey, we want you as a player now, or was it kind of like you had to scramble to look for somewhere that a team, after you made the consideration, and of course, talk to your family and such?
I mean, it was like I had some people talking to me and writing me and stuff, and I talked to some people, but generally I didn't really know what I wanted. I think the only guy, like the guy I wanted to just. Only guy I contacted myself was PPD after what happened, and they already had something in works with AUI and Bulba. So that was how that was, and then I just talked to some people from DC and some other people, but this was what it ended up with. So
I see. So what was your general impression of say? Because it had to be pretty chaotic at that point, right? Like you have, because now it's like I said, it's a domino effect, and you got players going to different teams. So if you can talk about more of how you felt, or what was that like, just thinking like, oh God, like how many teams have already started making plans or already have something in place for this to happen? Like, did you feel like a lot of people knew what was going on and had already made their plans beforehand, or was it kind of just like a wow, this is just a scramble right now?
No, I mean, I didn't really feel like that. I mean, it was only 3 teams from Europe switching rosters, as far as I know, like DC, EG, and Secret. So and talking to within these people, I every one of them knew what was happening, kind of, but no one else, almost. And I knew for a fact that other teams wouldn't change roster. So, or at least I did not expect to. Like, OG, why would they change roster? Like, they have a great team, so does Liquid. I don't see any point for them to switch roster. So I didn't even consider that as a possibility. I thought they were already established, like, for sure. And like, of course, they locked their roster, for this with the same roster. So I just went around the people that I knew was getting fucked as well as me by the changes.
So how did that? So you're listed as the captain now of Digital Chaos, and you're moving to support instead of offline. So how did that How did that basically come about in terms of picking your teammates, or to what extent did you choose, or your teammates were chosen, and was decided who would be captain or who would be playing what position? Because you have a lot of very young players, a mix of younger players and like newer generation players on your team. So how did that, how did that ultimately settle down in those span of 4 days before the locks?
I mean, I think obviously I talked to Weha a bit, and he wanted to continue playing and make something. And I had some recommendations from different people from EG and stuff about Resolution and Saxa. So we talked us four, and Weha wanted to play carry, and Resolution obviously mid, and Saxa support. So I was offlaner, but we still needed a captain. And we also needed a fifth player, and that fifth player had to either play, like most likely play support and be the captain, right? And so it didn't really seem possible to find such a player within 3 days or whatever. The people that were available were usually carries or other mid players or something like that. And then I started thinking about, maybe I should be captain and go back to support. I could do that. And if that's how it ends up, how would I, like, who would be playing offlane, right? And I thought about Mu, because I saw him play at the major, and I've heard good things about him. And I thought he was really good, so I contacted him, and he was up for it, since his own team had issues with one player or something like that. I don't really know the details. It doesn't matter. The point is that he became the offlaner, and then I took the role as support and captain, and that was pretty much my own decision. I thought that was the best way of making the team work.
Awesome. So big adjustment from you there. And just in terms of that, again, because you have as much perspective as anybody in the professional scene, because you've been playing at a high level for so long, what are some of the challenges of being a captain these days that are different from maybe back in the day, or a different role maybe that you have to play, not just in Dota terms, but maybe, psychologically, especially because you have such a young team?
I think, from playing just a little bit already, obviously switching to support and getting to be a captain, it's two big things, and it's gonna take a little bit for me to get used to it. But it's really hard to be a captain. It's by far the hardest role in Dota. I think it obviously also depends on what kind of players you have with you, because some teams have, like, maybe one captain, but a lot of people talking and a lot of people having ideas and having good calls and stuff. So the captain himself maybe is just a guy you believe in, that is drafting and that you can stand behind and that you respect and stuff like that. Whereas other teams have maybe, not this quality, but instead they have players who follow one guy, and then this one guy has a lot of responsibility and a lot of things to think about and a lot of things to say in the game, and also outside the game on how to improve and stuff like that. So it depends a lot on the team and what kind of captain you are required to be in that sense.
Okay. Well, let's take a kind of two-part approach to this then, maybe. So you just came from Team Secret. What was the atmosphere like in terms of in-game for that team? Was it kind of a combination of people making shot calls and kind of doing things by community, or was it more of that singular voice method that you also mentioned?
I think it was a little bit of both. I mean, Poppy has said a lot of things in game and had a lot of decisions, but at the same time, Envy could be very vocal depending on what carry he would be playing, and I could be very vocal as well depending on my hero and how my game was going. And Weha would probably say the least together with Pi, but generally, I mean, it also comes down to we played together a lot and we practiced a lot, and we already knew our roles and what the game plan was in the game. So maybe the communication didn't have to be so strict. People would already understand what's happening in the game from just
more
playing.
Like natural flow.
Yeah, kind of, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's obviously very hard with a new team because you don't have any background together whatsoever. There's just nothing. So it's much harder to start up like that. But like in the major, it's, for example, when we played in Secret, it was it was not that much. Like it was very very. It was a very nice flow we had in a lot of games, and yeah, that was like obviously Puppy did a great job as captain, but like we also helped him a lot in game and stuff with calls and what to do and stuff. Yeah.
So do you anticipate, like, with your first time captaining and also with a newly formed team, that this kind of it'll be like a process from starting where you would probably have a much greater responsibility to speak up and direct like the in-game decision making, and kind of work towards that kind of working by community and working as a team? Like, what do you anticipate as your kind of how much of a kind of a burden to have in game as a captain?
As of right now, it's a bit difficult because, like I said, I have to get used to both new heroes and how they work, but also remember how the game works itself and how to fucking draft. And like, there's actually a lot of things I have to think about now. And it's very difficult, and it's hard to maintain your confidence in what you know and stuff like that. It's definitely going to be very hard. But yeah, I'm looking very much forward to go to America and be on LAN and talk, and so I can talk to the guys face to face, and also like much easier to improve and watch replays and point out things that we wanna do in the game. But for now, we're just online, and we're 2 guys in America and 3 guys like spread over the whole continent of Europe. So it's hard. But it's fine. It's a new team and stuff, so it has to be hard.
Well, that sounds like a pretty incredible challenge you've undertaken to kind of learn the ropes for 2, very, very big roles, and not even mentioning drafting. Because we've had instances in the past where, like, teams might have a separate drafter and kind of in-game shot caller, right? So for you, it looks like all of that is going to be resting on your jurisdiction.
We saw that during Shanghai that a lot of the teams that had coaches actually had a good amount of success. Liquid, you guys, and I think Fnatic and some other teams that had finished near the top. And this is something that's kind of been growing. So in terms of things that you are taking with you that are positives from Secret, be it leadership or captaining or maybe having a greater emphasis on coaches, which of those things do you think, how do you see that carrying over to your new team?
Generally, I think it's extremely important to have a good coach, and I think that showed very much at the major. And I don't know, it's hard to find a coach, but like I am always up for a coach. I think it's almost a necessity at this point. Otherwise, you might lose out. Yeah, it's very important for sure. Like, Steven helped us so much at the major. I don't know if we would have won the tournament without him.
Yeah, multiple people have said that. They've spoken very highly. And, what do you think are some of the coach's main, or the value that he brings to the team that isn't otherwise available? Is it kind of just like some people have said it's like a fresh perspective on the game because you're so zeroed in and so focused when you're playing that maybe you don't see the big picture, or just maybe some people have also said that it's a voice that kind of complements the captains and makes people say listen more to the captain or on the draft. Like, what do you think were some of the functions that Theban played, or that you think are most valuable that's hard to find in a coach?
I think there's a lot of things. It's that what you just said, like the fact that he comes into the team and then he gives us new insights and new ideas on how we should approach different situations and different like styles of play and stuff like that. And once you start playing more under that idea, then it's also like everyone listen to Puppy, stuff like that. Sure, but it could also be you should really trust in X player's hero, like my lone druid or something like that. You have to believe in that he will eventually carry you. Don't stress and stuff like that. It can be many things. And in the tournament, that's mainly on the bootcamp, right? But in the tournament, it's also about keeping everyone focused and keeping everyone, like, even though we're secured top 3 or secured, we beat OG or we beat some fucking EG or whatever, like he would still keep us focused and keep us motivated to continuously try harder and practice and keep talking about the games and stuff like that. And then after losing a series, or after not a series, like a one map, he would keep us calm and keep us focused on what we just fucking did. Like we just picked Ursa or something like that. Why the fuck are we picking that hero when we don't play it? We fucking first phase it, and like he's just saying that, and then everyone's right. Like
I remember that game.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Like it makes no sense. So we should just stick to the plan and move on, because we do have a really good plan and stuff. So there's so many things like that, and I think if you don't have that guy, you can easily just start choking, and fucking next game you pick Ursa again, and then it's over.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Because I think it's taken quite a long time for this kind of idea to catch on, just for like spectators and fans, because we don't have a viewpoint. We can't really see behind the scenes and how much the coach can actually contributing. And from what you described, it seems like it's encompassing the tactical aspect in terms of drafting and trying to study teams, like enemy teams for you guys, but also a lot of just, I don't want to make it cheesy, but like an emotional support system as well, just kind of keep you guys level-headed and focused on the next task. So
yeah, I mean, for sure. Like, but it's not an easy role to be a coach. Like, it's actually probably at a level of hard as being a player to be a good coach. I don't think, like, you have Bolban, you have Theben in the Western scene that are really good coaches. I don't even know if there's anyone else in the history, at least. Of course, there might be people that hasn't been like acknowledged for what they've done or whatever. I don't want to like hanging anyone out, but like those are the guys who are probably the best coaches so far. And it's one of those guys you want the best coach, because maybe a mediocre coach doesn't do much, and maybe he's afraid of saying something in a situation where you did pick Ursa, and then you don't realize that you picked Ursa and that was the mistake, something like that. But it's a lot of things that makes a good coach.
Yeah, it seems tough both ways, because you obviously you have to have that respect for the person, probably as a player, and otherwise it's probably hard to listen to somebody who just comes in and tells you stuff. So they have to have that kind of clout or reputation, or have proven themselves in some way, but they also have to have, it seems, as you mentioned, kind of the strategic and motivational skills that you mentioned. So yeah, it seems pretty tough. And do you think we'll be seeing more of them? Like, is your team going to be actively trying to acquire a coach as well, or what's going to happen?
I think if we are given the opportunity to get a good coach and we all believe in it, then we'll take it. And but for now, we just had to focus on getting the team rolling in the first place. I think, right now we haven't really talked about it yet as a team.
I've got kind of to loosen things up a bit. We've been on some pretty heavy stuff so far. I've got kind of a lighter question for you. You have a reputation, or people have seen you put Midas on a lot of supports, go Midas on a lot of supports, and where do you think this item is right now, and maybe why we're not seeing it as commonly in competitive games, or maybe on supports? Where I only recall, say, Phoenix or something frequently getting that as a support. What do you think is up with Midas right now?
I think it's just too much gold, and it just doesn't do enough. I think there are some heroes you still buy Midas on. You can, like Night Stalker maybe, and some maybe you can still do on Crystal Maiden. There are some heroes that is still good for, because there's no item that really benefits more, and you want to continuously farm and get more items. But I think the addition of new items like Glimmer Cape, and I don't know, no one's buying Solar Crest anymore, but like there's just so many good items that you want in your team. You want Mech, you want Arcane Boost for your team, you want 4 Staffs, you want Glimmers, you want whatever, Lotus Orb. Veil is also an amazing item now. It got buffed so much. So I think Midas just kind of doesn't cut it. Like, your Phoenix can buy a Midas, but he can also have a Veil, and then you can win a fight, and then he can have a Midas, right there.
Okay.
And or something like that, and I think it's just a bit too slow, but I think you can still pull it off.
How do you feel about the direction that the game is going? Because we mentioned obviously a while ago, Dendy said that he didn't feel the game was moving in a good direction and maybe it was becoming too accessible or simplified. Obviously, recently in the spring cleaning patch, we had some changes. For example, the spawn indicators for when you place wards and tower range indicators. How do you feel just generally about the direction of the game and where it's going? Again, it's because you have that unique perspective having played professionally for so long.
I don't think it's that. I think the thing is the game is just becoming more and more complete. They're getting rid of all this Dota 1 things that is also Dota 2 things, but how you need to go in a practice lobby and find out where you can block and where you can't block the camp and stuff like that, and where you have to place the sentries and the tower range indicator and like whatever else of things that they add. But they're kind of slowly and surely removing things that are a bit random and unnecessary in the game. And I mean, I think maybe the water indicator is a little bit. It doesn't seem that good at first because it does seem like the game becomes easier, but actually it doesn't. It just becomes different, because now it's even for everybody, right? It's even for the guy voting, but it's also the same for the guy centering afterwards. It's more mind games maybe, and more like having to be coordinated on where you place your wards and where you TP level 1 and stuff to block camps. I think it's fine. I think the game is not becoming easier. I think it's just becoming harder and harder every year. And every month even, like teams are trying harder and the game is becoming just more and more complex as teams are getting better. So I don't think the game is becoming easier. Maybe it's becoming simpler and there are some new features that are making it easier to play, but not for pro players because they already know their stuff. It's just becoming easier for all the beginners, and that's just a good thing, I think.
Right, that's an interesting point because obviously a professional wouldn't have needed that information to be able to, like, they already know that stuff based on feel or practice or instinct. So do you feel a sense that, say, maybe the skill level, generally speaking, is higher than ever, and because of that, is it harder for pro players to find an edge on each other than it was before? Like, do you get that sense because so many people play now and there's so much information out there?
Yeah, I think it's probably just more based off teams and how well they're prepared and how smart they are about going into tournaments and how they are doing the tournament as a team, like mindset wise. Do they all believe in each other? Do they believe they can win? And do they enjoy playing together? And like there are so many factors psychologically like that will like win your tournament or lose your tournament. Like in Secret, we were like the best team ever. We were so fucking strong as a team, and whenever we won, we were like hugging and stuff, and we had never done that in the past. Only when we won tournaments. So we were like a fucking truck, and you couldn't kind of stop us in that sense, mindset wise. So that's really important as well. Not just how you play the game or how you place a ward somewhere or something like that. It's kind of irrelevant, I feel, compared to winning a tournament. It's much deeper than that.
Yeah, it's almost like if you have individual skill raising across the board for professional players, the only difference starts to be how the teams coordinate and play. And in that respect, I also wanted to ask you. I mean, we've heard in the past that some teams that have maybe some internal issues or struggles can still perform very well. Other teams that have maybe or everyone likes each other, everything goes together pretty smoothly, maybe still don't perform the best or still end up reforming sometimes. So in that sense, what do you think do you think there's kind of like this separation now where it's like you don't have to like each other, but because you're still professionals and you have to play as professionals? Or do you still think it's most important and most ideal to have a team that really gets along and really loves playing with each other?
I think it obviously depends from team to team. I just know from my experience why I feel like we won the major. But I don't know how Ichi was when they won TI5 and stuff like that. It really depends from team to team and what kind of captain you have and what kind of people you have involved with the team. I don't think you can generalize on it. But yeah, I think there has been some situations with teams in the past, at least, where people didn't really enjoy playing or didn't really like each other that much, or people had issues, but they could still, whenever they were in the game, they were in the game, and they stopped whining and they just played and tried to win their best, because like that's at least their common goal, is to win. So they could set that bullshit aside and still play. I know there has been some teams like that in the past, but I think it's too hard now. I think the game is too complex, and I think the enemy team is not going to have those issues maybe, and they're going to be smarter. But I don't know exactly. This is getting a bit stupid, but I think it depends from team to team.
All right. Thank you very much, Rasmus. You've been a great guest. We've taken up a lot of your time, and it's late over there in Kiev. Do you have any final comments or shout-outs or anything that you want to ask or say before we cut the show?
Yeah, I'd like to thank DC a lot for their help and their sponsorship, and the fact that they bring all of us to America to a team house and take care of us and stuff. It's really amazing. I think we have probably the best sponsor in Dota, so that makes me very happy. And that's thanks for all the support I got since I got removed from Secret. That also meant a lot to me. That was kind of amazing. So yeah, that's it.
And that's going to do it for our show today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening in. Please follow our guest on Twitter if you haven't done so already, at Misery Dota. That's MISERY Dota. I'm your host, Korean Barbecue. You can find me on Twitter at KBBQ Dota, and my co-host, Woodshrew, at Woodshrew Dota. And as usual, we are available on iTunes, our entire network of shows. You can follow our main Twitter at .p_show. Search for Defense of the Patients on iTunes, and you can click through our banner to support us as well. Coming up tomorrow is going to be, as usual, Theorycraft Thursdays with Ursinity and Proud. Thank you for listening in to this episode. We look forward, as always, to your feedback and suggestions. And until next week, take care.